getting lost, being lost, feeling lost, what it's like, and what to do about it, right? So, number one, if you are in a zone of feeling lost, I've never actually felt lost. I had so many people say like, "Oh, you being lost, and you need to find yourself first, and you need to do this, and you don't even know who you are." And I'm like, right. So when we experience something traumatic, um, I believe, and this is also how the people I surrounded myself with, um, we are in this, do you call it chrysalis, in this metamorphosic state, right? Like a butterfly. And sometimes we are in a cocoon and we have to reevaluate everything because let's face it, if we experience trauma, dreams are get shattered, right? Our idea of who we thought we were gets shattered. um, our values are going to change and are needing to be looked at and changed and adapted accordingly, right? Because we learn something from every experience. So I find it very interesting that people then say you're being lost because I personally feel like when you are in this zone, I never really felt lost. I rather felt like I had moments where I didn't know, where I felt like I didn't know who I was. I'm like, who actually am I? Right? And what am I? Like, who am I? I've been asking this question for quite some time during a period in my life, right? For a couple of months or maybe a year, whatever. Um, who actually am I, right? Who am I without relationships? Who am I if I don't have all these dreams? Like, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? So, and it was really interesting. And I can remember this one particular session I had with my mentor, Lois Rowley. And I said like who actually am I? And she took me through a few fears and misconceptions and avoidance patterns and whatever I had. I don't know what was avoidance, but I had some stuff coming, some fears. And throughout these fears, so she helped me through that, and something inside of me stepped up, like I want freedom, like whatever it is, like right, like something inside of me came up that knew what it needed to do and wanted to have and all of that. And she said, "That's who you are. That's you." So basically, I learned a lot about thoughts and feelings and who we are and what we are not. So let me just drop a story in here before I come to the conclusion of that one, right? So I had someone say to me, like, do you even know who you are? And then I reflected that question back to that person because I just simply have had enough of people telling me I don't know who I am. I needed to find myself because my idea of finding yourself is we are constantly evolving. There's constantly new parts of us, rising. And if we think we right now know who we are for the rest of eternity and that's gonna be it, like personally, I feel like there's no space for evolution. I mean, yes, of course we can know who we are and evolve, but it's not that we are who we are now and this is who we are. My idea of who I am is not that. I feel like I know who I am, but that also changes and shifts according to, me working on myself or just growing or experiencing certain things. So for example, also this lost feeling. Okay, let me finish that story first. There's like heaps of stories in here. So that story, then someone said to me, you seemed so lost and you didn't know who you were. I was like, do you know who you are? And that person said to me, well, I know what I want. I know my dreams and I'm living them now. And this is what I wanted to do work wise. I'm like, and I'm thinking, okay, so they have a great idea on what their dreams are and what they're going through. And this is exactly what I had in mind as well, right? Yet when that shattered and didn't work out, or is it really what I wanted? Because I didn't want whatever, it changed. So I did what I did. And she said all these things to me. And then when I reflected back, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like you have a direction in life and you have your dreams and you're living your dreams and all of that, right? It's like just imagine, you know, you're losing your job because whatever, for whatever reason, or your husband dies or your wife dies or whatever, your kids get kidnapped. You know, like, who are you then? Do you still know who you are when you don't have all these external factors? Um, and my question out to myself is actually like, have I actually lived my dreams? You know, did I even have many dreams? I always wanted to travel. Um, and then meet someone and then have lots of kids. And in a way, I guess I did that. I just didn't do it quite the way I imagined it to be, but that's okay. It is what it is. So, in this feeling lost thing, what you can do about it, because the other part I wanted to talk about is that sometimes we are just standing in a thick cloud of trauma, you know? So many people, when they come out of abusive relationships, they come out and don't actually know what reality is anymore and what not. So I was literally running around like, is this real? It's like literally, there was a bin then in public where I was just like walking down the street and there was a bin. I'm like, is this real? I just touched it. It's like really, you really have to put the pieces back together, right? Um, of who you want to be. And there's no other thing than just moving through the trauma. So, you know, anything that helps you release all of these emotions of like feeling lost or confused, not knowing who you are, and then you got to reevaluate yourself, like what's important to you now. Obviously, if it's trauma, whatever, like, you know, sometimes things hit us when our house is burned down and stuff that's coming out of nowhere, and you're like, okay, like, whoa, where did that come from? But when it comes to abuse, you just gotta, this is a relationship, this is what I've learned, I'm not gonna do that again, this is what I value now, you know, that's my new standard. I've learned I need to communicate more, I need to take some time, I need space for me right now rather than a relationship, and I need whatever it is, right? And that changes us to different persons. And maybe, hey, Tamsin, good to have you here. And maybe some of our dreams remain, maybe some just change. So that whole being lost is really like, who do you want to be now? And within that, of course, when I think about my own personality, like I love painting, I love writing. I actually discovered how much I love children and love working with children. Um, that's like, I love riding my bicycle. That's all things that, you know, trauma or things can't take that away. Yet, yet, in some aspects, I had to really dig that out again because I forgot some of the things I actually love doing. But that's also, I feel like, in many cases normal. You know, we go through so many different phases of life, and then maybe we forget how much we love to just chew gum and blow these big bubbles that we used to do as kids, right? And then we have kids and they remind us and like, oh, that's right, I used to love that. And then you get all excited, right? I forgot that for so many years, and how come I didn't step into that part of joy of my life and stuff, right? So and being lost, that's my actual point, is I feel like sometimes we may not be lost, that are free, yeah, that are free. Those little joys, you mean? Um, well, it may be that we're just also buried underneath a lot of stuff, you know? Because in that sense, like, you know, when it comes to that, like coming out of abusive relationships, right? You lose often everything: your finances, your house, your friends, everything. And I can remember a session where I sat with my counselor and she said, look, a thriving human being has a circle of friends, has got a job, has got a stable home environment, has got, you know, intimate relationships or one relationship, whatever. Has got that and that. And then she said, look where you are right now. And I had none of that. Right? I came out and I fucking had none of that. And often people even lose their children. I was lucky enough to have my child, but I had a court case where I felt constantly anxious around potentially losing that child. And on top of that, I didn't even have my culture around me. I didn't even have my language around me. I didn't have fucking anything around me that would somewhat give me this mothering, caring, safety sense of feeling in my body. There was nothing. And all of that was threatened. I potentially will never see that again. I mean, of course, you'd think on the outside, well, of course you're gonna go back home. Of course you see your family. Well, that wasn't so much of course. If you end up in a country like that, I mean, it's not that he's like a I almost said it's not that he's a third world war happening, but maybe there is. But I guess what I'm saying is the rules are not as harsh as it could be. Yet, if you don't know the system, potentially everything is out there, right? What I'm saying is I didn't have any of that. Plus, all that fear of potentially losing my family, potentially not being able to go back to Germany, potentially, right? So there's a lot of emotions, a lot of stuff to come to terms with. So, hence why, in a sense, I never really felt lost. I didn't feel lost as in like, I don't know what to do. And I guess I did tell actually myself, like, I don't know. I said that all the time, right? But that was also, I think, a phrase maybe was part of trauma, is part of how I grew up, that I told myself, I don't know when I actually do know, whatever. It's like this reconnection to yourself. So maybe that's what people will call lost. But I was aware that I was here and I needed that to get a sense of life and normality and stuff and safety again. That's actually my needs being met. This is what humans need to exist, to live, to feel like they live. And I was here. So I knew where I was and I knew what I needed to do and where I was going. Plus, the whole court procedure I was going through on top of that. So I knew all of that. There was just a lot of other things like, what are my dreams? I rose. Yeah, I rose. I had to, right? I feel like always I had to. So within people telling me I don't know who I am and I'm being lost, I was like, okay, I just pause that there right now. I can't deal with this on top of everything else I'm going through right now. Right? I'll deal with that when I come out and snap for air or whatever and have some more time. Right now, I'm here and I need to get there. So, in that sense, I never really felt lost. Maybe it did look like I'm lost to some, and I felt like I'm crazy and I'm going crazy sometimes. It really does. It really, really does. I had moments where I felt like I'm going crazy, like literally crazy. But anyways, it's just another energy, and I shifted it, and I'm 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 getting a little bit more here now. Maybe I'm like there. Right. But anyways, the point is about being lost and feeling lost and getting lost. And the good thing is, like, once you find certain parts of yourself again and you get that sort of, I don't care what people think about me anymore. I know I'm here and I need to get there, even if people don't see that. Right? You get the sense of, and like, you just let go of other people's perceptions and what they think and what normal needs to look like and all that kind of crap, because you tried normal, you tried that family, you tried this, you tried that, but it just all shattered. So you'd be like, what the heck? I'm just gonna try what works for me for a little bit, right? It's like, oh, you should have done it the whole time, but that's what it is. So I was like, I can't remember. I jumped into my car and I drove out into the forest. I was like, I'm just gonna get lost, because you know what? I feel like I found myself and I'm just gonna get lost in the forest. I just take a route I've never taken before. Because that's the good thing about getting lost and finding yourself. You can just get lost anywhere now because you know who you are. Right? So I did that, and that kind of gave me, I guess, a bit of sense of power back, right? Because I'm like, yes. It's like, fuck you. Not fuck you, but it's like, I don't feel like I'm lost. I'm just doing my thing and I'm trying to figure out what to do from here and how to do it and whatever, right? While knowing I knew where I was. But then within knowing that, there's also a thing of, what are my dreams now? And that was hard to figure out because I was in a court procedure, and I still am in a court procedure of, Australia and Germany. So here's me. Germany would be like, oh, I grew up there. There's my family. But like, a part of me went, I should be there. But then also my soul chose to come to Australia now. The not so fluffy part about that was that I'm now in a broken up relationship. My whole life is shattered. I do have my kid with me, which is great, but you know, do I still want to be here? Because now it's like this whole thing of I come to Australia to enjoy my life and do work and travel and be with that person that I love. All of that is just now blown out of the window, and I was facing court procedures. I'm like, well, that's kind of not how I imagined this to turn out, right? And it didn't feel that humorous back then, but it's like, well, what do you want? And I'm like, well, I also have a kid now. I have two countries, on my plate, and I'm like, where do I feel home? How do I feel home? What do I need right now? Right? There's like it's really not a straightforward, clear situation. There's a lot of factors to take into consideration on what it is that you want to do. And on top of that, you have millions of people standing outside of you, probably not millions, but enough people outside of you to like scream and yell at you what to do, and you need this and you need that, and then they chuck things at you and you just roll with that, and you be like, whoa, okay. Right? Until you kind of get a sense of, you know what, because it's intimidating and it's frightening and threatening as well to have to move through court. Your kid is on the line, potentially the country you're coming from is on the line, so you got to be in a place of, if I go to court and I want to go to Germany, I got to be prepared for them to say no. You gotta live in Australia until your son is a certain age and can choose. I mean, I can do whatever I want, but my kid can't relocate because he has a dad here. So it's like this, well, you know? So there's a lot that was going on, and there's a lot that you have to move through to come to a place within yourself again where you are accepting of the situation, where you can love yourself and others, and also just not to screw up corporately. Like, you want to be in a place of, in like, if I ask for that, I need to be okay not to get it, right? And that in itself took me a long time to be okay with, because it's huge, right? All the grief and fear of not having your kid grow up with your family, and then it's not just me, but it's their feelings as well. And everybody says like, well, if whatever you do, as long as you're okay with that, we are okay with that. We just want you to be happy. Yeah, but my internal world is like, okay, well, right, still a lot of stuff to rise around your own patterns of, I want to make other people happy, you know, da 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 da, whatever. So there's a lot to process. There really is a lot to process. And when we talk about getting lost, it's, I don't know if it's lost, when you come into these like constellations where people support you in what I was going through, they call that more like you're a seed and you've been planted. You've been buried, and now you're growing like a plant coming out. And not everyone goes through these things, thank goodness, or hasn't yet, right? And when you then look from the outside, you be like, what are you doing? I can imagine that someone would do that, but this is where the compassion part comes in, right? Compassion to me is understanding and love. And if you can just seek to understand, this is what people say, right? Seek to understand before you seek to be understood. Then you don't judge people, and then people may even become friends with you, and you got to build connections again. And in some relationships it's tough, because they may not see how deep the hole is you got yourself into, or what's actually going on for you. And it's tough also for people that are in that space of lost, because there is so much to process and there's so many decisions to be made. It's like, they can't take on any more than that. No matter how positive it is, no matter how loving it is, no matter how great your intentions are, if they're in that space, all they need is to figure themselves out and come to terms with it and work through that stuff. And here's like the tools, you know, a lot of things that you can do to do that is, of course, meditation. And don't roll your eyes at me, but that stuff actually does work because it brings it back to you. You hear your own inner voice again. You hear among all that that's floating around that you somehow have to sort out and get on top of and make decisions about. And then you have all these relationships, and then you have a kid to raise, and then you have this to do, and then you have your own stuff to deal with. It just brings calm mind. You stop overthinking about all the possibilities about what could happen because your emotional world is kind of blown up pretty big, right? And if you meditate, you bring it back to you, and you give those emotions space to actually expand and leave, so you can find the answers to what it is that you want. Or you just get a clear mind that stops talking to you all day, every day, in all kinds of different ways. So you stop running around like a headless chicken in life and just like, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this. And you know what? I've done that. And like, just a year after, or 2 years, just when I came to the coast the first time, right? I moved from the bush out to the coast, and I can't remember. I was like, what is the next right step to take? And I was just like, I need to do the dishes. I need to sort this out. I need to do these paperwork. I need to do that, right? I need to find a job. And I said, what is the next right step? And in that moment, my little kid stood in front of me and said, Mommy, you want to, I don't know what he said, like, put my shoes together or play with me or something. He said something to me, right? And that was the next step to take, to just be present in the moment and deal with that very thing. You bring that back to yourself. You stop overthinking and driving yourself crazy, because especially after abuse, you just, there's so much going on. Like, our nervous system is shattered. Our mind is overticking and overthinking 100 miles an hour and faster than that, like lightning speed, man. um, some of us actually have physical illness. They detect that they have cancer or other sorts of things that the trauma has built in their body, that has the trauma is the cause for that to break out and stuff, right? There's so much going on, so much to be cleared up. It's like there's so much going on. So to resolve all of that and move through that, you know, like there's you can do like paintings. I did a lot of clay work. I really dug in and stepped into that trauma, even past life meditations, you know, working with your inner child, like all of these sort of things. Like, just keep going and keep going, keep doing it. If people tell you you're lost and you just like, I can't deal with that right now, boundaries, just put the boundaries up. Prioritize yourself and your child. If you have children, whatever is on the top of your list, do that first. And you know what, after time, when you have sorted out all that stuff in your own life, there's gonna be more light coming in, and there's gonna be more light, and then you can, you know, rebuild those relationships that you had to pause in that moment. But if so much stuff is gone, because the other thing also is meditation and doing the inner work and all of that stuff, and especially traumatic events, they make us aware of who we thought we were, right? For example, some of my old patterns that I thought I had to please people. I thought I had to make other people happy, or I thought relationships were hard and I considered what I had to be hard, so I stayed and I keep going. And I was kind of raised in a way like, don't give up, just keep going. Like, you know, when I rode my bicycle, just like hold your hands tight and go through the sand, and then just do it and kind of like push through, right? And that's what I did in that relationship. Instead of like actually being taught, and I'm not blaming anything or judging anyone for that. Like, I always consider my childhood to have been a happy childhood, right? But it's like these little things, and then we stay. And abuse is also like a nasty thing, you know, like how it creeps in and stuff. I was just talking to a friend about this yesterday. It's not like it hits you and you go, no, no, not doing that, right? It's kind of like a creepy, like you breathing, you think you breathe in air, but it's actually poison. And then all of a sudden, when you already know it's kind of too late, because you're getting all these creepy signs in your body and it's slowly dying, and your soul is actually not even alive anymore, and you're doing weird things that you would usually not do, then it's really hard to get out of it. Because for a long, 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 long time, I was feeling like something is wrong, but I couldn't put a finger on it, right? So it's also a bit tricky if you are not familiar with red flags or all these things that can happen. Then it is what it is, and whatever is, you know, I don't know. There's so much to process. Like it's not that that's the point. That's the button I pushed, and then everything turned to shit or something, right? That is like in so many lessons to learn. So many lessons to learn. So coming back to that, um, I feel like now I got lost. Now I got lost in my own train of thought and my story. On a live stream of getting lost. That's so funny. Um, I got lost in my own story because so reveling it back, you can't really put a finger on it. Um, and I'm not here to blame anyone, because it's also your own choices you make. And I guess that's the other part. Like, don't get lost in trying to figure out the whys or where it started or something. It's like just go with where you were at. Like, don't or the whole meditation thing. Um, like surrender the stories in your mind that try to figure out the hows and whys and reasons, and just like go with how you feel, set that boundary and take the next step. And that's the other part. That's what I was actually talking about, because what gets you into those situations sometimes are old ideas of who we thought we were. Like, I had to please people, I had to do it right. And then when that kind of stuff doesn't work you, because it starts to burn you out and relationships don't work out and stuff, you were like, okay. Or it may also be like your idea of life. You'd be like, well, I thought I'm doing it right. Like, I've been showing up for that person, or I've been doing this stuff, and I've been trying to be honest, and I've been trying to be supportive, but it's just not working for me, right? And then what you figure out is that, oh, well, have you developed like your sense of self-worth or standing in your boundaries, or actually, having your own needs met and stuff, and you think, yeah, of course, well, back then I wanted this and that, right, and I went for it. And then that's also the really irritating part, because you think, well, I thought I knew who I was, and I thought I did what I wanted to do, and then everything shatters and doesn't work out, and you really question everything inside of yourself. Like, there's no stone not be turned over that you look at and reevaluate and think, okay, what's with that? Keep or throw out? What's with that? Keep or throw out, right? Do I need to please people? Do I need to listen all the time to what other people tell me? What is my intuition? What is not my intuition? What's with all these thoughts, the feelings? Do I need to even societally, do I even need to be in a relationship? And you have no idea what that is, man. If you are single for so long, so many people be like, oh, you've been like single for a while, or you have been this for a while, or don't you want a man, or where is the right partner? And you be like, well, what is it with that stuff? What is it with that stuff? Like, why do we even need this kind of stuff? Where are your values? Aren't I enough the way I am in the world right now? Why do I need a house? Why do I need a partner? Why do I need this and that? Aren't I lovable right now just the way I am? Can't you just feel safe for me and faithful right now? Is it that I need a partner for someone else to feel safe, that I'm gonna be okay? I mean, I get the idea of, yeah, sure, if you truly fall in love and someone looks after you and you look after them, you kind of have a partner that you can do life with, right? And I know people always tell me it's not that easy and it's hard and blah 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 and all these things. Yet I understand the concept that someone else could think from the outside, it would be probably nice to have that for me, so I'm not cruising around in the world on my own, right? It's kind of safer to be together if you have someone to rely on, that you're safe with and they're safe with you, and boom, bang, chawam. But, as a human being and someone that has, to some people, gotten lost and come back without medicine, by the way, or any drugs or anything, just like put it back together through like what I just said, you know, coming back to what brings me joy, doing what my heart brings alive, doing all the inner work of like painting. You see all of that there behind? That's all part of it. Shedding a lot of tears, roaring a lot of roars, small ones and quiet ones and big ones, basically like dealing with all these emotions. And as someone that has done that, I can tell you that you just want to be loved right now for who you are. And the good thing is that it doesn't matter whether someone else loves you for who you are right now or not. You can do that yourself right now. You can say, you know what, look, I'm not in a relationship right now, but I feel like I'm still lovable and I feel like I'm okay and I'm still safe and capable and I'm good. You know? And they can wish all these things onto you. And they can tell you that it looked weird for a while what you did there, or that you chopped whatever, changed, looked like it changed your hair for someone else, and they may not fully get the place you were in, and that's okay, because that's also your responsibility to understand yourself and to love yourself for where you're at right now and to enjoy yourself and to build the life you want to build. Right? And that's really interesting because lately I've been working on goals, and my mentor asked me this really interesting question, and it was all around having faith in my goals. And I'm like, I was so scared that some of my goals would not be enough for people that love me, or would not be the right ones, or not high enough or important enough, or maybe too important, and then if I do achieve it, they would be in the wrong and would not know who I am anymore because of my choices and what I wanted to achieve in the world. And now I'm just surrendering it all and saying, like, look, this is who I choose to be. This is who I want to be. This is what I want to do. And it's quite magical that people, for example, like my mom for a while, she's like, I have no idea what you're doing, but I support you. And I think she's actually getting a sense of what I'm doing now. And she's still supporting me. And she's always read my blogs. When I started to write my very first blog years ago, she's been reading it. She's like, yeah, I read it. It was this and this and that. I'm like, oh wow, she's reading my blogs. And we had so many fallouts sometimes when I didn't know who I was anymore and all that kind of crap. Right? So, yeah, as you change, other people change. And if you need space for yourself to figure that out, who you are or what you want to do, or just to get over that trauma, because you know what, I know what I'm doing here. And I always had the feeling, and in a sense, I always had a feeling I knew what I was doing, although I asked certain questions. And I have another story for you in that too. It's going to be quite a long live stream, but there's lots to say. So the other thing about getting lost is that although we know what we're doing in many ways, when we have this question of who actually am I right now, and I had this just because someone made me aware, and she's like, look, Heinrich is just in that age where he's growing apart from you, being more independent. So with that, if I'm a mom and I had constantly someone next to me and that, you know, I had to help grow and that I kept it really close, and one of my priorities was, of course, to be a mom. And that person now grows out, you'd be like, oh, who am I now? I've got like more space for me now. I don't need to do certain actions anymore because he just grew out of it, right? You have to reevaluate yourself. And this is what I mean with finding yourself and getting lost. Like the idea for me of getting lost has actually not ever really truly been there, because I felt like I'm just someone that's in that situation and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with it, and from that, and who I want to be in this. And in many ways, maybe I couldn't express myself in like my clothing or whatever I wanted to do, just because I was really tight on money sometimes, and I did the best I could with what I had. But when it comes back to the parenting, when they then grow out, for example, you just, you know, who am I now? So you're growing as a person as well. It's like, oh wow, I've just like ticked off 3 years of, you know, parenting. So now I'm gonna treat myself in doing this, or maybe I want to change my hair because I feel like I'm a different person. Like, how many moms get a new I'm a new mom haircut now? They chop the hair off, or they change the color, or they do something because they have just changed into a new person. That doesn't mean they're completely different. Like, for me, I like painting, I like nature, whatever, right? I wouldn't all of a sudden say, oh, I now don't like any of that anymore. I just like heavy metal only, all day, every day. And maybe sometimes we go through these phases, right? But at the core, I think things will always stay with us. It would surprise me if I would not like to paint anymore at some stage in my life. There's parts where I paint a lot and then little, but I always like to doodle. I always like pen and paper. Like, I would be surprised if that evolves to a point where I don't do that at all anymore, unless I use a laptop for that or whatever. But as I said, it would surprise me. So I think the core of that, and that also means I'm not pen and paper. If I am evolving out of that, I would be okay with that too, because I trust that. I'm like, okay, obviously this is evolving now. There's things I used to do, like people pleasing. I don't do that anymore, right? I try to listen to myself first before I listen to everybody else. I used to listen to everybody else, but that's not me anymore. So, and you could say that's me, not to listen, but to listen to my own heart first. So when it comes to parenting, if we have that question, we may be like, oh, it's more time for me now, so I can go and whatever, go on that riding horse trip that I always wanted to go to, or I have some more time to play and whatever, do other things, right? And just prioritize me again and have some more fun and be more of who I want to be. Does that make sense? It kind of reminds me of my friend as well, when she had a newborn baby, and she was like, it was like, oh, so much about surviving, and then she finally came out and she had put this really pretty flower dress on, and really bringing out her feminine side again and just celebrating and stuff. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. So sometimes we are in a phase of life where we show up as a certain person, and then when that kind of changes, we come out and we get to reevaluate ourselves. Like, oh, I want to do more of rock music festivals, or I want to do more of, I don't know, right? Just like honoring yourself in a different way because you have just raised children, or because you have just gone through certain things. I hope that makes sense to you. I'm not quite sure if I'm pinpointing what I'm trying to say here, but I'm just getting at that. Just because sometimes you ask yourself, who I am or who I am now, doesn't necessarily also mean you're like totally lost. It may just mean that you are shifting and changing and reevaluating and then choosing who you want to be now. Does that make sense? And that can simply come from the evolution of your life and your situation. Excuse me. So keep going with yourself. Like, never give up. Like, I wanted to give up, and I had people just in that moment when I wanted to give up, and she said, don't give up on yourself. And she said that intuitively. I'm like, oh God, you're so right, because I just wanted to. Like, keep going. You're so worth it. And I know how hard it can be to dig yourself out of this hole, or feel lost, or even be lost, and do all these things. And there's so much going on. You think you never get on top of it ever again. And it gets too hard. And it's just too much and too wide. Those are just emotions. Don't fight the story. It's just an emotion. It's just a thought. It's just a feeling in that moment. And I fucking know how real they can feel. They are convincing. You tend to believe that. You do. They are so real. But do not bite it. It's just energy. You will move through that like you moved through all the other stuff. There is another side. It's just another emotion that looks different to the one you felt before and moved through before. So please keep surrendering your stories. Just keep moving forward. And I promise you, you will be free. and you find yourself and you find parts of yourself and happy endings. And you know what? The way a happy ending looks like is also your creation. If you have in mind to be a happy ending, like, for example, in my case, without court, and that may never happen, you can still create a happy ending within that. That's kind of like where people become inspiring. That's where you really find yourself and your ability to turn shit into gold despite on what just happened to you, despite not getting the white house with the white fence. Or maybe you get the white house with the fence regardless of all of that. But that's where you really, really get to know who you are, what you're capable of, and what you can do. Your creativity, your brilliance, your power, your strength, your perseverance, your consistency, your will, your faith, your ability to adapt and change, your like authenticity, ethics, all the things. You will find your why, and once you have that why, you're unstoppable, girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever you are. Like literally. And when I think then about AI and computer techniques and all of that, if you know that about yourself and you know who you are there, right there, and even more deeper, bring on AI. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. I don't think technology can meet us there. So if you can know who you are right there in that thing, and I know they're trying, but when it comes to our intuition and being tapped into that and really knowing who we are, we figure it out. As I said, like we are all love, and love will always find a way. So it is what it is. And it's not. I'm not saying AI is bad or anything. I'm just saying if you really know yourself, there's no return. And yeah, same when it comes to other things. I just wanted to say. So if you can't have, you know, some people dream of bigger boobs or different eyes, or they want a different head shape, whatever, right? But that's exactly where we figure out who we really are when we move through these challenges. When we figure out that we are actually not someone we thought we were, like, you know, whatever. Let's imagine someone has some sort of growth on their face and they're constantly getting bullied for that, and they think they're ugly and they don't belong into this world, all that kind of stuff, right? And that's how they move through life. So they try to wear their hair differently, and they just really, really wish they had an operation where they could just change it all. And this is what they think their dream is. I want a new face. Then you actually dig into their soul and you figure out, you know what? I am so lovable with how I am in this world right now. I'm gonna make it happen the way I look exactly right now, because now I know who I am. And I am not my ugly face, and I am not other people's thoughts of me. And I am not who people think I should live my life or what I should be doing. Does that make sense? So that person, there's like a deeper meaning. So sometimes we think we know who we are, and like, oh, I know my goal is I want that, but it's like, no, it's not. You didn't come here to have small thoughts about yourself or wanting to chop a leg off so you fit into your jeans again or whatever. And I'm not saying it's crap. It feels crap to me, but I'm also being really hard. But it just breaks my heart. It breaks my heart when I'm, for example, running my online workshops and people be like, you know, I want this and that. And it's actually like, it is a situation where they want to not be themselves. And then I know straight away, I'm like, you don't know, you don't not want to be you. You just want to be loved and accepted for who you are and embrace that stuff. And I'm thinking, I had this beautiful flower thing, and it was a picture of all different kinds of flowers. And I thought this is exactly my vision for the world. That everybody finds themselves. I still roll my eyes over this thing. Because I'm like, It doesn't matter. But that everybody embraces their uniqueness and their individuality and all they came here for, with their round thighs or super skinny thighs and their weird faces and not so weird faces. And people be like, "Oh, Christine, but you don't get it. You've never lived with that." I may not get that, but I get the feeling you're feeling of you don't get it because you don't live with that. Because that's something I have lived for a long, 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 long time with, where I feel like people don't get me because they're not in my situation. And I actually don't know anyone else in my situation. But there are people in your situation. And everybody who's supporting you and encouraging you and being there by your side, they are your people. The rest is your internal work and realization, you loving yourself and stuff. So, you know, if people tell you you're lost, maybe they're right, maybe not. Maybe they just don't quite understand where you are at right now. And that's okay. And if that's not your people for now, then that's okay too. You gotta learn to love yourself first and prioritize yourself first and do what's right for you, because that is also where you find yourself. And you know what? I'm betting that there's a lot of people who think they know themselves. They don't know that kind of part of prioritizing themselves over and over again. Or maybe they do, and then there's another layer and another layer. There's so much to explore about ourselves and our souls and everything. Like, oh my goodness, like huge, so much. And we all have unique paths. So trust that your way is unfolding exactly the way it needs to, whether you're being lost or not. And I know some people say like, oh, maybe you had to go through all of this to help so many people. And I've had moments where I thought, I don't even want to hear that anymore, because you know, you think like I couldn't care less. Why would I sacrifice my own self and life and go through all of these emotions just to help someone else? Right. So I even stopped that and I said, you know what? I'm just gonna help myself now. No one else. I just do what feels right for me. If no one ever watches it and if no one ever takes it on, fine. But I need this for myself. I feel like I need to do it. It makes me happy. I'll do it. I really boiled it down like that. I wanted to help 6 years ago. I wanted to help everybody. My mentor said, you first. And maybe, no, I don't think it was lost. It's just like, you know, you have a dream and you start doing it and then you get guided on how to do it. So here we are. Do I feel like I found myself? Do I feel like I have an idea of who I am? I do have an idea of who I am. I feel like I know what I am and I know what I'm not. But as I said, I also fear this openness to, I know there's more. Like if I would now close the lid and say I know who I am right now, I would not take on the journey that lies ahead of me. I wouldn't. I think I take on the journey ahead of me because I know who I am. And I'm excited to figure out what else I am and who I'm going to turn into. And it frightens me at the same time. It scares me because I feel like I'm afraid I'm losing parts of myself that I really love. I'm afraid I have to sacrifice that, but I also know that that is just fear. You know, maybe I won't have to sacrifice it. Maybe I come out the other end and actually embrace them even more and make them even stronger than right now and stuff, you know? So, yeah, it's a very interesting concept, this getting lost, finding and who you actually are. I would love to know who you are. How do you answer that question if someone says, who are you? Who do you think, not do you think you are, but who are you? How would you actually answer that question? I would really, really love to know your answer. And it's not like I'm asking someone else to figure out who I am. It's rather like, how do people actually answer that? If people throw this question around and telling people they're lost and they don't know who they are, who do they think they are? What is their answer to this question? I'm curious. I really am. I just shared my point of view with you. So I would love to know yours. Please let me know. I'm actually really, really curious. Um, that was probably the longest live stream I've done in a long time. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that made sense. Please tag your people in it. Everybody that you feel like needs to know this, send them a message, tag them in here, share that with them, share it in groups. Send me all the love thoughts where it resonates with you. And if you want to book your Oracle card reading with me to help you through trauma, figure out who you are, what you are not, and what the next step is, any questions you have at all, anything you feel like you need to have sorted out, might be relationships, grieving, connecting with loved ones, moving through trauma, moving through court, parenting, relationships, like literally anything. Literally, you, if you resonate with this live stream and you want to work with me and you don't know why, trust it. Contact me and I'm sure I can help you. Any questions you have, any emotions. I feel like a lot of tears. So why am I feeling so many tears? If you have a lot of tears or grief happening in your life, please reach out, send me a message. I will be also doing my manifestation workshops where you get to manifest your dreams and connect and just remove everything that doesn't serve you. You know, so many things I talked about, like any doubts of you achieving that goal, or afraid of people not accepting you for who you are and all that kind of thing, and even more. Then please send me a message, because they're coming back at you again. If you are dreaming and you want to figure out what your dreams mean, how to work with them, and how to actually, what to do to get a peaceful, restful sleep again, send me a message, because I have my it's only 3 days, 3 days of dream interpretation journey right there ready for you for $33. No, it's not 30, it's $13 now. $13 for $13. So if you want to figure out how to dream, not how to dream. You can figure out how to dream, but what your dreams are meaning, how to get a peaceful, restful sleep. So if you have had like unrestful sleep, a lot of dreams, confusing dreams, periods of nightmares, it's all covered in there. What to do, how to move through this, how to change it and turn it around again, so you have a restful sleep that's recharging and refreshing you. And what to do with all these dreams, what they're meaning, what all this, you know, stuff you're dreaming about has to tell you, and how to figure that out for good. So you will be learning tools you can use and apply for the rest of your life. And the training is accessible for you for as often as you want. So once you have it for life. And also the free support group that you can always ask questions in. You can just like bounce things off with me, for me, whatever, to me. To get some support in interpreting your dreams until you get really fluent in it and stuff. So please send me a message if you're interested in it. It's literally just $13 at the moment, and that price will go up to $33. So please, if you want that in there now, send me a message. Yeah, and my free Magenta Goddess group is always open for you. It's actually going to become a paid membership soon. So if you want to get the info free now, and also join me and Sarah Watkins on Tuesday for our live conversation, all things around court proceedings, domestic violence, building a life. She has got her own magazine. She is, organizing and owning. I forgot the name. Oh, that's so embarrassing. I'm so terrible with names. I've been trying to work on that. But where she, like works with a lot of readers and organizes them, and has her own, it's not a company, but geez, I'm going to drop that comment in the comments below for you so you can check it out before I say anything wrong, because I do not want to dishonor her. But please check out Sarah Watkins. She's amazing. She has a lot of experience, a lot of great tools that can help you in situations with domestic violence and court proceedings, and how to turn it around. I'll be sharing what has worked for me, so this will be really life changing. I get the sense always, I hear always, it's going to be life changing. So we talk about all things magazines, publishing books, and anything else that Spirit wants us to talk about in that hour. So we start at 10:30 on Tuesday. If you want to join us, please send me a message. Yeah, I'm excited. So let me know what you want to do and what resonates for you. And until then, I'm sending you all the love. May you figure out that the pieces you are shattered into is not who you are. You're not the pieces you shattered into. You are that glorious light that's still standing within your soul and your heart. That's who you are, not the pieces you shattered into. So I just wanted to tell you that. Love you lots. Please let me know who you feel like you are. And until then, I shall see you soon. Bye.